The Bunda Cliffs, also known as the Nullarbor Cliffs, are a coastal scarp on the southern coast of Australia, extending from the western coast of South Australia to the southeastern corner of Western Australia. The Bunda Cliffs extend for 210 kilometers, 130 miles along the shore of the Great Australian Bight near its northern extremity. The cliffs extend from head of the Bight in the east to Eucla, Western Australia. In the west, there are some local cliff-line breaks towards the eastern end. Western ends, WI. There are some local cliff-line breaks towards the eastern and western ends, with a 160 kilometers, 99 miles uninterrupted cliff line from near the eastern end to a point 28 kilometers west of the South Australia-Western Australia border. The cliffs are bounded on the north by the arid Nullarbor Plain, in a very sparsely settled area of Australia. The cliffs, which are some 60 to 120 meters to 100 to 390 feet in height, can be viewed from several viewing points along the Air Highway east of Eucla and west of Nullarbor Roadhouse. The Bunda Cliffs are part of the limestone bedrock of the Nullarbor Plain, which is the largest single exposure of such foundation in the world. It covers an area of about 200 square kilometers and is a 65-million-year-old former shallow seabed. This makes it one of the most unique geological features of the far west coast of South Australia. The Bunda Cliffs were named after the Aboriginal word, Bunda. They are the dramatic meeting point of this limestone bedrock with the wild waters of the Great Australian Bight. The cliffs are visually unique not only in their size, but in that you can notice the bottom half of the cliffs are almost bleached white. This is because they are composed of fossiliferous limestone, which can also be seen from Eucla to Mildura. The Bunda Cliffs officially begin at the head of Bight and stretch west to the border of Western Australia, although you will notice towering cliffs along most of the coastline. They stand up to an incredible 100 meters high in some sections, and travel for more than 100 kilometers along the coast. The Bunda Cliffs are one of the most amazing spots to go whale watching as the southern right whales visit the region for their annual breeding migration. Besides being a jaw-dropping location by themselves, the Bunda Cliffs offer an elevated vantage point with sweeping views of the Great Australian Bight. The best time to see whales from the Bunda Cliffs is during the cooler months from May to October. The number of whales in the area peaks in July and August. Geologically, the cliffs are made of Cenozoic age fossiliferous limestone, part of the Eucla Basin geologic formation. They are the eastern portion of the Great Southern Scarp, an 820-kilometer-long formation which extends across the Eucla Basin. The cliffs are subjected to high-energy waves from the Southern Ocean and are receding northwards. The same formation extends from Eucla to Mildura in Western Australia, where it forms the scarp, separating the Roe Plains from the Hampton Tableland. But in this section, the coastline has moved away from the cliffs. The scarp in this area runs parallel to, and within sight of, the Air Highway. The Baxter Cliffs, west of the Roe Plains, are a further continuation of the escarpment, stretching for nearly 160 kilometers along the coast. Bunda is an Aboriginal word, which has been used in South Australia for the name of the Nullarbor coastal cliffs. The name was gazetted by the Government of South Australia on the 2nd of October 2014 in response to a submission from the Department of Environment, Water and Natural Resources for approval to use it for a sanctuary zone in the Far West Coast Marine Park, and refers to the extent of cliff line extending from the Western Australian border to the head of the bight. Most of the cliffs are in protected areas. Nullarbor Wilderness Protection Area extends eastwards from the Western Australia-South Australia border. Yalata Indigenous Protected Area covers the eastern portion of the cliffs. Eucla National Park protects the Western Australian portion of the cliffs. Far West Coast Marine Park includes the South Australian waters along the cliffs. How to reach the Bunda Cliffs. The Bunda Cliffs stretch from the head of Bight to Eucla in Western Australia if you're travelling from Chiduna in South Australia. The nearest edge of the Bunda Cliffs is at the head of Bight. This is the northernmost extent of the Great Australian Bight and sits roughly halfway across the Nullarbor. From the head of Bight, the Bunda Cliffs stretch west towards Eucla. The head of Bight is easily reached by road off the air highway. It's a short detour of 12 kilometers from the highway to reach the coast and lookouts, which is well signposted. This is one of the most convenient and best places to see the cliffs and makes for a nice stop as you travel across the semi-arid plain. If you're traveling across the Nullarbor from the west, then you will first reach the Bunda Cliffs just after Eucla. The air highway runs very close to the cliffs after you cross into South Aust Ralia from this direction, which provides great views of the western edge of the Bunda Cliffs. Depending on which direction you're traveling from. From Chiduna to head of Bight, 285 kilometers, or 3.5-hour drive along the air highway west of Chiduna town. From Eucla to head of Bight, 221 kilometers, or 2.5-hour drive along the air highway east of Eucla. From Norseman to Eucla, 710 kilometers, or 7.5-hour drive along the air highway. How to see the Bunda Cliffs. You can either see the Bunda Cliffs by land or air. The Bunda Cliffs are most easily seen by land along the air highway, which skirts right along the cliffs with multiple viewpoints. Although for a completely different perspective, you can also take a scenic flight over the cliffs. If you like this content, don't forget to like, subscribe and share my channel, because every like, subscribe and share will be a great source of motivation for me to share more of my trips with you all. Thank you so much.